We really got to check in on what the fuck is happening with New York City. Dude, the place is A, falling apart, and B, in an effort of trying to rebuild it, they're attempting to tax the living shit out of everybody. Well, if everybody voted the same way that New York and California did, they'd be taxing the living piss out of everybody, but let's hope that doesn't happen because we got here. Biden's tax plan could create a tax rate as much as, brace for impact, 62% for New Yorkers in California, study shows. How far do you have to go until it becomes slavery? In all honesty, 62 fucking percent. Can you? Fucking socialist countries over there that the Bernie Sanders AOC types like to call the Nordic model. That shit's not even that high. Honestly, there is no excuse for that. Those two states are failing, and it's at the feet of Andrew Cuomo and Gavin Newsom. Nobody else. You can't tax your way to prosperity. Winston Churchill had the best quote on that. A country trying to tax itself out of prosperity is like a man standing in a bucket trying to pull it up by the handle. Yeah, shit don't work. But let's take a look at what CNBC has to say. In California, New Jersey. Oh, we're going to have to talk to some of our friends about that. In New York City, taxpayers earning more than $400,000 a year could face combined state and local statutory income tax rates of more than 60%. Unfucking believable. Okay, $400,000 might seem a lot to some people, but in places like LA and New York City, that doesn't get you very much. Okay, and these people that would live out in the burbs in the fucking Jersey area or in Pennsylvania, out in the Philadelphia suburbs, Philly's referred to as the fifth borough anyways, you might be making bank like that, but you ain't living like you're making $400,000 a year if you were in places like Nebraska, the Carolinas, Oklahoma, fuck, even Texas. $400,000 a year. Like, there's some beautiful fucking houses that are about 3, 4, 5,000 square feet that are the 550 in the greater DFW area. But you look at a brownstone, that fucking two-story brownstone in New York City on a nice part of town, and you're looking at 1.5, 1.6. If there's anybody in the New York area that knows for sure, feel free to let me know. But I know $400,000 doesn't get you very far. Few taxpayers pay the full statutory rates, which don't include deductions, credits, offsets, loopholes, and lower tax rates on other sources of income. So that means that you just have to hire a huge accounting firm. And so, yeah, they're just going to try to nickel and dime you all the way through. If the Democrats win the Senate and can pass legislation removing the $10,000 cap on state and local tax deductions, the combined state and local tax rates for top earners could be even lower. While Americans earning less than $400,000 would, on average, receive tax cuts under Biden's plan. Check my Joe Biden tax plan thing analysis video for proof that that is complete and utter horseshit. The highest earners would face double-digit increases in their official tax rates, according to a nonpartisan analysis. In California, New Jersey, and New York City, taxpayers earning more than $400,000 a year could face combined state and local statutory income tax rates of 60% or more. In California, top earners could face a state and federal tax rate as much as 62.6% under the Biden plan, according to calculations from Jared Walzak, rhymes with Balsack, of the Tax Foundation. In New Jersey, the combined rates could be just more than 60%, while in New York State, they could reach 58.2%. In New York City, home of the state's high earners, the combined city, state, and federal income tax rate would be just over 62%. How is that not slavery? How is taking home 38% of your income not putting y'all back in chains? I guess the prophecy will finally come to fruition if enough Democrats get out there and vote twice, vote early and vote often, right? But this is about par for the course, and we're going to look directly at New York City because the fucking place is failing. And guess who hopped on the Trump train, albeit reluctantly, here earlier today when this little bit of information came out? 50 Cent backs Trump. You know what? I don't want to be 20 Cent under Biden. That's fucking hilarious. Rapper 50 Cent on Tuesday confirmed that he's backing President Trump for re-election, saying he doesn't want to become 20 Cent under Democrat Joe Biden. Yeah, I don't want to be 20 Cent. 62% is a very bad idea. I don't like it. The Queens raised rapper, born Curtis James Jackson III, wrote on Twitter. Well, actually, we got his official tweet here because you come to me for the facts, right? Well, I shall provide the facts. What the fuck? Vote for Trump. I'm out. Fuck New York. The Knicks never win anyways. I don't care that Trump doesn't like black people. 62% of y'all fucking minds. Yep. 50 Cent on his way to becoming Kanye West confirmed. The PIMP singer's unexpected endorsement of the Republican incumbent comes 2 weeks before the November 3rd election as Trump tries to broaden his support among black voters. He's doing extremely well, especially by highlighting Joe Biden's role in writing 1980s, and we can go back even further than that, his busing comments of 1976 and 1990s legislation which contribute to mass incarceration of minorities. While he didn't explicitly call them super predators, he sure as fuck said everything but. They create a certain class of predators. These predators are the same type of predators. He didn't want to go to the schools that his kids did because he was afraid that they would grow up in, you guessed it, a racial jungle. Joe Biden's a hunk of shit. One of the many facts of life, people. What the fuck, he wrote. Vote for Trump. I'm out. Fuck New York. He added the Knicks never win anyways, which is so terribly true. And you know what? What the fuck's left in New York City? We've all heard of the thousands and thousands of empty apartments in New York City. We've heard all the stories about the homeless taking over high-end hotels and turning them into just piss-ridden shelters, and Bill de Blasio just, I don't know, absolutely fucking out of his mind at this point, and Andrew Cuomo doing the same. And what was the slogan? Never forget, right? When it comes to the Jewish population, when what happened in fucking Germany during World War II. I thought we've gone past the point of persecuting specific groups based on their ideology, their race, their gender, their immutable characteristics. But I guess if you're good guy Cuomo or good guy de Blasio, you don't need to follow that. And I'm glad Fiddy's getting out of New York because, well, how long until the straight black male becomes a persecuted group? Because as of right now, the newly persecuted group are the straight white Jews. New York City's ultra-Orthodox Jewish leaders decry new lockdown measures. Yeah, it's pretty goddamn despicable. Now listen, their goofy hats and their goofy hair and their dress, it all seems a little bit excessive, but hey, you know what? Religious freedom, sexual freedom, I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. And all of these policies that Cuomo and de Blasio are dropping down, they are only explicitly enforcing them on one group of people. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo on Wednesday defended his decision to shut down parts of the state despite growing backlash from leaders and members of New York's ultra-Orthodox Jewish community. Under Cuomo's order, some neighborhoods in Brooklyn, Queens, and suburban counties must close schools and non-essential businesses. When was this published? Oh, right, October 7th, not back in April, when it, might have made sense. And limit religious gatherings to a maximum of 10 people. Many of the targeted areas have a high concentration of ultra-Orthodox Jews. Coincidence? Maybe. Who are in the middle of a religious holiday, Sukkot, which is marked by gathering and intermingling of large families. Yeah, like every other holiday. And they're still, Fauci right now trying to cancel fucking Thanksgiving. Suck a dick. They tried that up here in Canada, but yeah. They were met with a lot of indifference. The only people who seemed to care were the Karens out there on social media. Oh, look at my plastic bubble. I put little Tommy in. We're such a good family. Hashtag wear a mask, save a life. Dozens of ultra-Orthodox Jewish people. That is a mouthful to say. We'll just call them Super Jews from now on. In Borough Park, Brooklyn, posted the new measures Tuesday night, lighting a fire in the commercial street, according to New York Police Department officials and videos shared on social media. And you know what else? Normally the Wall Street Journal's pretty good, but I'll fill you in with the blanks. They also had a bunch of Trump flags there because Trump is, not for these archaic draconian measures of lockdown. He is actually for people, doing this whole freedom thing, which a crazy thing called the Declaration of Independence was kind of forged upon. But, hey, if de Blasio wants to continue to run around and lock Jewish parks, that's totally up to him. Oh yeah, he's done that too, guys. One man who was videotaping the protest was punched in the face after an argument with protesters, according to New York Police Department spokesman. The man was taken to Maimonides Hospital, hopefully I got that right, and later released, the spokesman said. Elected officials in the neighborhoods said the shutdown unfairly targeted ultra-Orthodox Super Jews communities. The governor has no interest or desire whatsoever to engage us, said New York City Councilman Kalman Yeager, a Democrat who represents Borough Park, in an interview Wednesday. And if you're not familiar with the voting patterns of the Jewish community, as much as they are quite orthodox, the practicing ones that is, there's a lot of people who are non-practicing Jews out there, but for the most part they always stick to the Democratic side of the aisle, even though they've abandoned God a long time ago. It just goes to show you that the Democrats have this unique hold on minorities, even though they detest them so. Mr. Cuomo, a Democrat, said at a press briefing on Wednesday that the lockdowns were only needed because people hadn't been following virus containment rules and local authorities hadn't been enforcing them because they were too busy guarding Bill de Blasio's Black Lives Matter mural that's in front of Trump Tower. 27 police officers at a time, if you can fucking believe it. The rules weren't being enforced because the communities didn't want to follow them, he said. Yes, because they're draconian and unnecessary. City and state officials have, for weeks, tracked a surge in cases in 20 zip codes across Brooklyn. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's just what you need. Government surveillance all the time. I know it's bad enough when you have, fucking phones running around everywhere and you can easily turn on those features like they do in China, but hey, the government needs to know where you all are at all times because, oh my COVID. Cuomo said Wednesday that those zip codes had a brace for impact 5.1% positivity rate overall, compared to the remainder of the state, which had a 1.05 positivity rate. That is can you fucking believe those numbers? That is just catastrophic. I'm sure people are just dropping dead by the boatful. They aren't. This is based on data and science, my facts, right? Mayor Bill de Blasio said of restrictions during a press conference Wednesday. Bill de Blasio is about the biggest piece of shit on earth. He's only out to enrich himself, his wife, and his lunatic daughter. It's sad to see what he's done to New York City, and ever since he got into office, his impact was felt immediately, and I will delight in being able to do a full expose on him in the future, but we're sticking specifically to the draconian lockdown measures that he's taking. City Councilwoman Karen Kozlowitz, a Democrat who represents affected neighborhoods in Queens, said the city should have done stricter enforcement, including fines for not wearing masks before jumping to larger scale shutdowns. I guess, but I still don't want to see fucking fines or that shit like that for a virus you cannot stop. It's gonna affect you if it's gonna infect you. Disputed science whether or not the masks actually stop anything, but who knows what the CDC and everybody is saying right now this week. People do not want to see the city closed down. They want to see their neighborhood. Oh, they don't want to see their neighborhood closed down. Just the Democrats want to see your neighborhoods closed down. Don't worry about it. A spokesman for Mr. de Blasio said over the past few weeks, city inspectors have issued 68 summonses. Fuck off. And closed 2 businesses after inspecting more than 5,000 in the area with high COVID-19 rates. However, city officials didn't issue any summons or fines to any individuals when it came to a non-compliance with masks, the spokesman said. And that's what the Super Jews were out there burning in the middle of the street, a box of masks, because it's a symbol. It's a symbol of the compliance that people want you to adhere to. If you want to wear a mask, fine. Don't tell me I have to wear a mask. If you want to go through gallons of hand sanitizer at a time, be my guest. Just don't tell me what I have to do, and don't think I'm going to be paying any fucking fines for your imposed paranoia, because really that's how I see it at this point. Yeah, people have died from it. That's unfortunate. But all the evidence, all the death rates out there point to the extremely vulnerable people dying from this that would have been knocked out by something from the seasonal flu to, I don't know, falling down the stairs in the morning. Like I said, I'm not trivializing the dead. I'm just saying that these lockdown mandates, enforced prison sentences are bizarre when you consider the Democrat governors and mayors out there releasing violent criminals from prison. It was only supposed to be non-violent criminals, but especially in New York City, they were letting fucking people convicted of assault out of Rikers. And as of publishing this article. It says that it has 68 summonses issued in the past few weeks. Well, we got a brand new story here that just came out, and we'll see if this one kind of adheres to the policies that these lovely gentlemen have like to introduce into New York State. Kosher restaurant in Brooklyn fined for having door open. Why would that be? This clip, which received over 500,000 views on Twitter, shows the owner complaining to the city inspector about being fined and hit with a court summons for keeping my doors open. You're giving me a ticket because my doors are open, sir? Asks the owner. He then points out that there's nobody inside the restaurant and asks if my store is hot. I'm not allowed to open the door because the store is hot. Yup, and that's exactly what's going on here. There's just a few tables in one of those small townhouse-like eateries. You guys, if you ever lived in an older building, you know it gets hot as fuck in the summertime, and especially if you turn on your stove or do any type of stovetop cooking, it gets hot as balls. And guess what? If you don't have a window there, if your kitchen doesn't have proper ventilation, yeah, okay, kick open the fucking door, but you only have curbside service or you only have delivery service, and this fucking glorified meter maid walks in and wants to play Dudley Do-Right and write you up a ticket because he's got to meet a quota for the month. This is the future for New York City. You think that de Blasio and Cuomo aren't going to let go of these powers as soon as, a vaccine becomes massively available? It doesn't become a fucking dead issue? No, as soon as the next thing pops up, they're just going to further expand their newfound power because these guys are despots. Plain and simple. They were just waiting for an opportunity to exercise their authoritarian streak. They are effectively killing New York City. Okay, I understand. I know this was prior to my birth, but I knew in the 70s and 80s, New York City wasn't exactly a walk in the park. It was a very dirty, seedy, crime-ridden area after the lights went out. It was not a place that you'd ever want to travel by yourself. And a bunch of morons out there have this romanticized idea that, oh yeah, we're going to return to that. It's going to be great. Yeah. Oh, okay. Then all of a sudden, what? Organized crime is just going to skyrocket again. And you're just going to have to wait a couple of decades for another Giuliani to come around in order to fix it up so we can continue the cycle forever and ever and ever. Nah, this is just going to kill off New York City because everybody is leaving. That's why they're taxing the piss out of everybody. All the millionaires are leaving. All the billionaires are leaving. Especially when you have representation like Cuomo, de Blasio, AOC out there who, well, a couple years ago when she drove Amazon, which would have brought 400 six-digit a year jobs to her district. But, nah, fuck it. We'll just tax whoever's left. And all the remaining people, all of the lifelong New Yorkers are fleeing. And I was kind of shocked by this last one. A man who's always been on the right side of the aisle. A man who I kind of just thought would weather the storm, but my boy Anthony Cumia put his fucking beautiful house up for sale. There's some pictures of it here. It's like, okay, if you've been a fan of the man for any significant amount of time, you've seen the pictures of it. You've seen the living room for sure, and the karaoke bar, and then the theater at the back, and the ridiculous pool. 3.1 million out there on Long Island, Roslyn Heights, and yeah. He's finally had enough. It finally went up on listing and he's looking to get out of there because shit is getting so fucking bonkers there, and realistically it's looking like there's not a lot of hope. New York is imploding, and if you are in the real estate game right now, and I wish there was reason for optimism, but if you could hop in there and start buying some shit once things start clearing out, probably after the election, because with all the riots that are going to happen night of the election and in the convening weeks, that'll be the time when prices will probably hit the rock bottom and you can sneak in there. But I don't know, that's asking a lot because New York City is kind of starting to look like a lost cause. Hope it doesn't, but not exactly terribly optimistic about New York. Given the choice between there and San Francisco, one has Silicon Valley and the other has socialism in the form of a bartender turned congresswoman who you could very easily ride to work when there's not enough tax money available to fund the subway system anymore. But that's my opinion on New York City. Not optimistic, guys, but hey, feel free if you're to correct me if I'm wrong, if you think that I'm not as optimistic as you are. But I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you guys to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.